Hello, and welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 62. We're going to talk about Full Moon High from 1981. I rented this from Amazon Prime. I had not seen this before. As always, we begin by discussing the prominent crew and cast. This film was written and directed by Larry Cohen with effects makeup by Steve Neal. Larry Cohen was a director and producer, but was most well known as a screenwriter. Beginning as a television writer, Cohen soon transitioned to feature films. Known for his low-budget, unconventional, and independent approach, his creative vision often blurred the lines between genres. The werewolf makeup special effects were created by Steve Neal, who had apprenticed under Rick Baker, the makeup artist for the 1981 film An American Werewolf in London. The most high-profile project that he worked on was as a sculptor on Ghostbusters in 1984. The cast includes Adam Arkin as Tony, Roz Kelly as Jane, Ed McMahon as Dad, aka Colonel William P. Walker, Joanne Nail as Ricky, Bill Kirchenbauer as Flynn, Elizabeth Hartman as Miss Montgomery, Louis Nye as Reverend, Demond Wilson as Cabby and bus driver, Jim J. Bullock as Eddie, billed as Jim Bullock, Kenneth Mars as the coach / Principal Cleveland, Alan Arkin as Dr. Brand, Tom Aldridge as the jailer, Paul Morita as the silversmith, Bob Saget as the sportscaster, and Anthony Arkin as the youngster at the game, billed as Anthony Dana Arkin. This large cast shocked me. I kept recognizing people as I watched the movie. I was just surprised a cast this good made what I consider to be such a stinker of a movie. It just goes to show you how hard putting a movie together can be. First up, let's talk about the three Arkins in this movie. Adam Arkin's father, Alan Arkin, is a renowned actor and also in this movie, and his mother, Barbara Dana, is an actress and writer. Adam's career spans 4 decades. He initially gained recognition as an actor and is probably best well known for his portrayal of Dr. Aaron Schutt in the medical drama series Chicago Hope, for which he received multiple Emmy Award nominations. My favorite television series he did are Northern Exposure and Sons of Anarchy. Beyond acting, Adam became a director and producer. Alan Arkin, father of Adam, boasts a career covering 6 decades and is an author, director, and musician. Beginning his journey on Broadway, he debuted in the play Enter Laughing in 1963, a Tony Award-winning performance, first time out. Other notable performances include an Academy Award-nominated role in The Russians Are Coming in 1966, followed by another Oscar nod for his part in The Heart is a Lonely Hunter in 1968. Alan's ability to effortlessly navigate between comedic and dramatic roles emerged as a defining feature of his career. He finally won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for Argo in 2012. Beyond acting, Alan is a film director and has released several albums showcasing his skills as a folk singer. Anthony Arkin is also the son of Alan and brother of Adam. Anthony has made numerous stage appearances. Additionally, he has made notable contributions to television and film, appearing in TV series such as The Americans. Roz Kelly garnered widespread fame for her portrayal of Pinky Tuscadero in the popular television series Happy Days. Ed McMahon was certainly best known for his enduring association with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. Having served as a fighter pilot in the United States Marine Corps during World War II and the Korean War, McMahon transitioned to broadcasting post-wars, eventually achieving success on television. McMahon served as Carson's sidekick and announcer on The Tonight Show from 1962 to 1992. His iconic opening line, "Here's Johnny," became synonymous with the show. In addition to his work with Carson, McMahon hosted his own shows such as Star Search and TV's Bloopers and Practical Jokes. He was also a successful pitchman, particularly for the American Family Publishers sweepstakes. Bill Kirchenbauer was born in Salzburg, Austria, and initially worked as a stand-up comedian. One of his most notable roles was portraying Coach Graham Lubbock on the popular ABC sitcoms Growing Pains and Just the 10 of Us. Elizabeth Hartman shot to prominence with her debut role as the lead character in A Patch of Blue from 1965. Hartman portrayed a blind white girl who befriends a black man, exploring themes of racial prejudice. Her compelling performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, making her the first rookie to achieve this recognition. Despite this early success and critical acclaim, Hartman struggled to secure roles matching the impact of her debut. Her career was marked by periods of inactivity and a limited number of film appearances. Tragically, she committed suicide at the age of 43 as a consequence of severe depression. Louis Nye gained prominence in the 50s and 60s as a regular cast member on The Steve Allen Show, a pioneering television variety program. Nye's comedic legacy continued into the later decades with appearances in popular TV shows like The Love Boat and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Demond Wilson is most recognized for portraying Lamont Sanford on the popular television sitcom Sanford and Son. Wilson's career began in the early 70s with appearances on television and film after serving in Vietnam. Beyond acting, Demond became a minister, although he continues to take the occasional acting role. Jim J. Bullock gained prominence in the 1980s with his role as Monroe Ficus on the popular sitcom Too Close for Comfort. Bullock's portrayal of Monroe, a flamboyant and lovable character, endeared him to audiences and made him into a household name. Following this success, Bullock continued working in television, also making regular guest appearances on game shows and reality television programs, showcasing his versatile talents. Kenneth Mars initially gained recognition for his work on stage and later transitioned to film and television. Mars' early notable contributions came through his collaboration with filmmaker Mel Brooks. He appeared in several of Brooks' iconic comedies, including The Producers in 1967 and Young Frankenstein in 1974. My wife would want me to mention his role in What's Up, Doc from 1972. In addition to his acting roles, he lent his voice to animated characters such as King Triton in Disney's The Little Mermaid in 1989. Mars is a familiar face and voice on all screens, having over 200 credits on IMDb. Tom Aldridge had a career spanning 6 decades and encompassed a wide range of roles on stage, screen, and television. He began his acting journey on Broadway and earned a Tony Award nomination for his portrayal of Norman Thayer Jr. in the Broadway production of On Golden Pond in 2005. His notable television appearances include roles in shows such as The Sopranos from 1999 to 2007 and Boardwalk Empire from 2010 to 2014. Pat Morita is easily best known as Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid film series. Morita's early life was marked by adversity, including a childhood battle with spinal tuberculosis that left him with a severely curved spine and necessitated years of hospitalization and treatment, in addition to spending time in Japanese American internment camps during World War II. Despite these challenges, Morita developed a passion for acting and began his career as a stand-up comedian. Morita's breakthrough came with his portrayal of Arnold Takahashi in the popular television sitcom Happy Days from 1975 to 1983. However, his role as Mr. Miyagi catapulted him to international fame and earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Morita's portrayal of the wise and stoic karate master and mentor across 4 films cemented his status as a cultural icon. Bob Saget is best known for his role as Danny Tanner on the popular sitcom Full House from 1987 to 1995. Saget began his career as a stand-up comedian, known for his often explicit and irreverent humor, which stood in stark contrast to his family-friendly image on Full House. He hosted the show America's Funniest Home Videos from 1989 to 1997, further solidifying his status as a television personality. Despite his family-oriented roles, Saget's stand-up comedy maintained its edginess, showcasing his versatility as a performer. Now, I had not heard of this movie before, and after watching it, I can see why. It's not good. Like any comedy, I laughed at a few jokes, but the hit ratio was low compared to the miss ratio. It doesn't work as a werewolf movie either. It's very much an artifact of its time and place, and that time has passed. You can skip this one. Now, this film serves as a parody within the horror genre, specifically targeting the subgenre of werewolf films, and notably lampooning the 1957 movie I Was a Teenage Werewolf. I'll talk about parody more later. So now let's review the synopsis. The film opens at a football game. The team carries the star quarterback Tony off the field. Tony's dad uses him as cover for a CIA operation in Romania. His dad is a real ladies' man, and Tony has to spend a lot of time out of their hotel room. A strange Romanian woman reads his palms and predicts that he will live forever and never age. They make the same pentagon joke as the Werewolf of Washington. Somehow, Tony ends up in rural Romania. I was confused. Someone plays the violin. Seriously, there is a recurring joke where an unnamed violinist just shows up at the oddest times. Tony gets attacked and injured by a werewolf while the violinist watches. He stumbles back to the hotel. He and his dad fly back to America. On the plane, Tony transforms into a werewolf, slowly and very unobtrusively. The plane is hijacked and all the passengers are blindfolded. Werewolf Tony stops the Cuban hijackers and somehow saves the plane. Now, back home, Tony has lost all ability to play football as a result of his being a werewolf. This girl Janie keeps throwing herself at Tony, who is just not interested. He turns into a werewolf at night and, to quote newspaper headlines from the film, annoys community, and nips playfully. He mostly bites cute girls' bottoms. Coach Cleveland conducts a ludicrous atomic bomb drill, the 1950s. Tony turns into a werewolf in front of his dad, who doesn't even notice at first. Tony pursues his dad, who hides in the family bomb shelter. They recycle some fluoride jokes from Dr. Strangelove. Tony's dad kills himself with a ricocheted bullet meant for Tony. Tony leaves town. Decades pass. I like the Jack the Nipper joke. He returns to his hometown decades later, which has fallen into a deep social decay. Miss Montgomery is a teacher harassed by the boys and girls at the school. Tony flirts with her. His best friend Flynn married Janie, and they have a son the same age Tony was when he stopped aging. Tony attempts to put his life back together by enrolling in high school as Tony Jr. He goes to a school dance and accidentally inspires a new dance craze. He also scares everyone away. Janie figures out that he's a werewolf and uses the knowledge to sexually extort him. Tony also gets an actual high school girlfriend, Ricky. Tony later asks Ricky to tie him to a bed and film his transformation. She thinks that this is some kind of kinky sex game until he transforms and breaks free. She threatens him with a silver knife. Later, Janie takes Tony to a fancy restaurant. She wants him to make her an ageless werewolf too. Silverware at the restaurant freaks Tony out. Tony says he's never killed anyone, and he flees. He ends up at Miss Montgomery's house and attacks her. Tony swaps out his transformation film with a sex ed film the high school kids are supposed to be watching. After showing the entire film, Tony confesses to killing Mrs. Montgomery. Tony is arrested for the crimes he committed while in wolf form. A psychiatrist is called in to examine Tony. He just insults everyone. Tony, as the wolf, escapes from prison in time to participate in his high school's homecoming football game. He scores a TD in the final seconds, mostly because every player on both teams runs from him in terror. Full Moon High still loses 6-42. In the end zone, he is gunned down by the psychiatrist. He survives because inflation has rendered a single silver bullet insufficient to kill a werewolf. The transformation could be more impressive. They cut away and cut back. It's competently performed, basic and simple. That said, I like the makeup job. It's minimalist and old school. Bushy sideburns and eyebrows, pointy teeth and nails. But no change to body shape. It works in the context of the high school football uniform and the Letterman jacket. There is a stylistic and thematic reason to keep Tony fully clothed. He needs to be easily identified as a high school student. Moving on to werewolf lore, as a parody, the film alternates between playing fast and loose with its werewolf lore and sticking to the source material. There is one weird twist. As near as I can tell, you got to kill the victim to make a new werewolf. We know Tony has bitten a lot of people throughout the movie. None of them become werewolves, but Tony confesses to finally killing someone, Miss Montgomery, after his transformation film plays in sex ed, and we see her in werewolf form at the very end of the movie. It's odd. I suspect it's there to explain why Tony doesn't create an army of werewolves, and it also means that Tony was actually killed back in Romania when he became a werewolf. I mentioned we're going to talk about parody, and this is a good time to do it. A parody film is a subgenre that lampoons other film genres or specific films as pastiches, works imitating the style of other films, reassembled together. Although the subgenre is overlooked by critics, parody films are commonly profitable at the box office. Parody is related to satire, except parody is more often an expression of appreciation, while satire points out flaws through ridicule. I don't find the difference clear, and most films employ both techniques. Parody is found in a range of art and culture, including literature, music, theater, television, animation, gaming, and of course, film. Historically, when a genre formula grows stale, it retains value primarily as parody fuel. Parody has been with cinema since its birth, with the first film parody being The Little Train Robbery in 1905. It poked fun at the Great Train Robbery from 1903, in part by using an all-child cast. The 70s and 80s have been called the golden age of parody movies, led by Mel Brooks and the Zaz Trio, David Zucker, Jim Abrams, and Jerry Zucker. Brooks parodied every genre you can think of, including a Western parody, Blazing Saddles in 1974, a horror parody, Young Frankenstein in 1974, a space opera parody, Spaceballs in 1987, a historical epic parody, History of the World Part 1 in 1981, and more. The Zaz Trio is best known for their film parodying several 60s and 70s genres, from exploitation films to kung fu films. The Kentucky Fried Movie in 1977, and their air disaster film parody, Airplane, in 1980, perhaps the single greatest parody film of all time. In the 2000s, the increasing availability of digital cameras and then smartphones that could shoot video and accessible editing software made it possible for amateur and early stage professional creators to make parodies and post them online. So, how does Full Moon High function as a parody? My primary criticism is that it doesn't center its attention on werewolves and the horror genre. Instead, it employs these tropes to address its true thematic focus, how individuals and society transform over time. This isn't an interpretation on my part. It comes directly from the writer, director, and producer, Larry Cohen. He said of this movie, it's more than a comedy. It has some interesting ideas about how life in America has changed sexually and politically since the early 60s. All of Arkin's friends have changed, but he hasn't. And whereas he changes into a werewolf all the time, his friends change into middle-aged people while he's gone, with different values and different ideas. They change as much as he does, actually. Now, I want to dig into this deeper. It is such an odd take to me. Werewolves change in two fundamentally different ways than everyone else does. A, it happens quickly, and B, that change reverts. This, I believe, is a significant factor contributing to why the movie doesn't resonate with me. The metaphor seems feeble, leading to jokes and parody to predominantly center on culture and sex instead of tackling the werewolf movie head on. The filmmakers seem to be addressing culture in a manner that doesn't necessitate the presence of a werewolf, and this felt unsatisfying to me. Now, I want to talk about the violinist joke. Most music in a film is meant for the audience. James Bond isn't hearing that stirring score while he's fighting the bad guys on top of the train. But sometimes you might notice there is music the characters do hear. This is called diegetic music. Diegetic music is any music part of the fictional world portrayed in the media and is knowingly performed and or heard by the characters. It can be music playing in the background, sounds made by objects, or even dialogue between the characters. Diegetic sound helps to create a more immersive experience for the audience. It makes the fictional world feel more real by reflecting real-life sounds and actions. Diegetic sound serves as a tool for filmmakers to immerse the audience into the narrative by creating a realistic and cohesive auditory environment. For example, footsteps, conversations, and ambient noises such as birdsong or traffic are common diegetic sounds that anchor the viewer in the depicted world. Non-diegetic sound, on the other hand, is sound that comes from outside the world of the story, like a narrator's voice or background music added during editing. It's used to enhance the audience's experience and is not heard by the characters. It can create tension, evoke emotions, or deliver important additional information. Typically, the sad violin that signifies something tragic is about to happen is non-diegetic. By making the unnamed violin player part of the actual story, someone Tony can see, the filmmakers give Tony additional information and agency that he wouldn't normally have in a werewolf movie. So in conclusion, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein from 1972. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.